So this is the Eureka Online College SKE induction video. So when you get your welcome email, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is to log into the VLE. The link will be given to you in the email. When you go to the link, you'll see an option to enter your username and password. Those login credentials will be also provided in the welcome email. So just type those in, and then when you log in, you'll see a menu on the left that looks like this one here. And you want to head down to Courses and click on Courses. And then the course that you're registered for should be listed there. All the pictures in this video are going to be from the point of view of a mathematics student, but everything I say works just as well for other subjects. I just happen to be using Mathematics SKE as an example. Okay, so once you click on your SKE, which is hopefully the correct one, you will see a second menu appear on the left, and there's lots of options here, and so we'll go through each of them in turn and just make sure we know what's what. But basically, most of the options there are going to be categories of units that you can take on the course. So just as an example, I've highlighted Core Units 1. So if you were to click on Core Units 1 for the Mathematics SKE, other subjects will have similar options. But if you click on Core Units 1, then what you'll see is a list of our core units, Core Units 1, come up on the right hand side. So you can see here you would get, for example, Algebra 1, Number 1, Ratio and Proportion 1, and there's others as well, Shape and Space 1, Statistics 1, so on and so forth. So most of those links down the left hand side are going to be where you go to access the individual units for the course. So how do you know which units to study? Well, every student has a bespoke program of study based on your background in the chosen subject. So we have people coming from all different backgrounds, people who have just come out of university, to people who maybe haven't looked at their chosen subject in an academic setting for maybe 20 plus years. So lots of people coming in from different backgrounds. The right 12-week course for one student, say, is not necessarily going to be the right 12-week course for another student. So what we use is a subject knowledge audit to determine which units of study are most appropriate to you. I'll show you where to find the subject knowledge audit in a second, but basically what you'll do is you'll fill out this document, you'll send it to your personal tutor. Your personal tutor, you'll be told who your personal tutor is in your welcome email, and you'll be given their contact details so you can get in touch with them. But you'll send the SKA over to your personal tutor, and they will look at your subject knowledge audit. They'll look at the areas that you're more or less confident in, and they will create a timeline, a program of study based on this, and then email that timeline back to you. So where can you find this subject knowledge audit? Well, you go to Induction and Reflective Practice, Week 1, on the left-hand side after you log in. And that will bring up a table of contents, which really you would work through in sequence, but I'm just showing you specifically where the subject knowledge can be found. The subject knowledge audit can be found, sorry. For the Mathematics SKE, you can see it's the 4th item down in the first week. It may be sooner or later, depending on the subject that you're doing. The induction week is slightly different in terms of its layout for each subject, but at some point in that first week, one of the items will be the subject knowledge audit. So here's a partial image of what the subject knowledge audit looks like. Again, it will be slightly different in the way it looks for different subjects. This is just an example of the maths subject knowledge audit. The actual audit is quite a few pages long. It has lots of different topics. Basically what we're going to do is ask you to rate your confidence in each one of those topics. So you can see we use pretty much a traffic light system: red, amber, green. So green is you're 100% happy with that topic. Amber is, well, you've seen it before, but you would probably need to refresh your knowledge before you was actually going to walk into a classroom and teach it. And red is either you've never seen that topic before, or it's been so long that you would effectively be coming to it starting from scratch. So all we want you to do is just tick or mark in some way which one of the red, amber or green applies to you for each one of these topics. There's an option to leave a comment if you like. You don't have to, but if you're sending this to your personal tutor, you may find it useful to leave a comment. Maybe something like, I'd really like to have a look at this on the SKE, or I'm kind of familiar with this, but I haven't done it in a while, so this could be a good one to pick. But all you need to do is fill out the red, amber or green, and the comment there is really optional. So what will your timeline look like when it gets sent back to you? Well, it will look like this. This is a sample timeline. So you can see that you have the dates down the left hand side, and you've got the actual units of study down the right hand side. So in this particular example, on the week beginning the 11th of December, you would head over to the Induction and Reflective Practice unit. Each unit is split up into a prepare section and a study section. You head to the prepare section first. It's all in order, so you just click on it in order. And then you just work through the unit, just clicking next, or you can use the little table of contents that pops up on the left hand side. Work through each of the units. If it asks you to read a document, you read the document. If it asks you to watch a video, you watch the video. If it asks you to play around with some interactive applet, you would do that. You might be asked to have a go at some questions. All you have to do is just follow along with what it says, and that's how you work through a unit. And you can tell which unit that you're supposed to be working on in any given week by the timeline. So assignments and journals. So as you work through your units of study, you'll come across various assignments. Each assignment comes with a set of instructions, and all you have to do is follow the instructions and then upload the assignment. The assignment may ask you to give an opinion. It could ask you to conduct some of your own research into a particular topic, or it might just be to answer some questions. Whenever you upload an assignment or a journal, your course tutor will get a notification saying that you've uploaded, say, the Algebra 1 assignment or something like that. They will be able to log in and they will have a read of what you've done. They'll leave you some feedback, and then they'll mark the assignment as either complete or incomplete. So if it's done to a satisfactory standard, then it will be marked with a 1, which is complete. If not, they'll probably just send you a message saying that maybe you've uploaded something in the wrong place, or you've accidentally uploaded a blank document, or you haven't written quite enough. But either way, they'll let you know what the problem is. So here's an example of how you know that you've come across an assignment. So we can see here I'm just using the Algebra 1 unit as an example. Most of the assignments can be found in the study section of a unit. The prepare section is more passive in nature. It's more you reading things, you watching videos, and the study section is a little bit more active. So it's more answering questions, giving your opinions, maybe playing around with some software, something like that. The assignments are clearly marked because you can see we've got assignment information. We've got points possible 1. It's always 1. It's either complete or incomplete. And then you've got the assignment instructions. So this particular assignment asks you to compare 2 resources and start thinking about which one you think would be most appropriate in a particular setting. Whenever the assignment is a give your opinion style assignment, such as this, The best thing to do is give your answer just 300 to 500 words, click on the text box, enter the text, and then hit the orange submit button. And again, when you hit the orange submit button, your course tutor will get a notification saying that you've submitted the assignment, and they will be able to log in and have a look at what you've done. They'll leave you some feedback, and then they'll mark that as complete. If the assignment is answering questions, then alongside this, usually the final assignment, so you can see here on the menu on the left hand side, we've got 2 assignments in the Algebra 1 study section. Usually the final assignment is in the form of past paper questions. So what you would do in that instance is you would do the questions as you normally would. For maths, I recommend you do them using pen and paper. That's still the best way to do maths, rather than trying to type them up into a Word document or something like that. Just do them on pen and paper, and next to each assignment there's going to be something called a self-assessment document or a self-assessment audit, usually next to the final assignment. And what this is basically like is sort of a mini subject knowledge audit, except that it only contains topics from within that unit. So the idea is that having completed the unit, having completed the assignment, you then reflect on your confidence in each of the areas in that unit, having completed the unit. So it's another way to be reflective and to think about how the unit has impacted your subject knowledge. So once you've worked through the prepare section and the study section, and you've uploaded any assignments that it's asked you to, the next thing to do is to go to the journal for that particular unit. So you go to My Journal on the left hand side, which you can see I've highlighted here. You'll have a list of journals, and what you want to do is you want to find the journal for the unit that you've just completed. So you might have to scroll down, click on that journal, and then what we ask you to do is just write somewhere between 300 to 500 words, so just a short paragraph reflecting on the unit and how it's impacted your subject knowledge. So any areas that you found useful, any areas that you found particularly easy, any areas that you found more challenging, any areas that you found particularly interesting. All the usual things that you would expect to write in a reflective summary of that unit. Again, somewhere between 300 and 500 words. Needs to be more than a couple of sentences, but it doesn't need to be pages and pages of reflection. And again, once you've done that and you hit the orange submit button, your tutor will get a notification. They'll be able to log in. They will read your journal entry. They will leave you some feedback. They might link you to a resource that they found particularly useful whilst teaching that topic. And then they'll mark that as complete. So again, the journals are just marked with a 1 or a 0, complete or not complete. Perhaps it's too short, in which case they will let you know, but hopefully most of the time it's going to be marked as complete. Once the 2 assignments and the journal are completed for a particular unit, then that unit is classed as complete. You don't have to wait for a unit to be signed off by your course tutor before moving on to the next one. So if you're sitting there one evening, you finish your journal for a particular unit, you've still got some time left that you've decided to allocate to the SKE course, then by all means jump in and start the next unit on your timeline. There's no penalties or anything like that for getting ahead of your timeline. In fact, if you can, I urge you to do so, because as we'll see a bit later, very often real life has a habit of throwing things at you that you don't expect. And all these different things can cause you to lose time and lose time on your SKE course. So if you can get ahead, then all the better, and you'll be able to work around any bumps in the road later on down the course. Okay, so you always start with the induction and reflective practice unit. This is not subject specific. It's more of a general unit on reflective practice, which might seem odd to some people, especially on a subject knowledge enhancement course. But the reason for this is that as most of the course is self-assessed, what this unit does is it prepares you with the tools and ideas that you'll need in order to complete your reflective journal entries at the end of each unit and at the end of the course as a whole. The final assessment, which I'll talk about later, is actually a reflective essay about the course as a whole. So the reflective practice unit basically gives you what you need in order to start thinking critically about your own progress and being able to reflect on how well you're doing. And this methodology is in keeping with the assessment process in teacher training. So if you can become a good reflective practitioner now, this will help you succeed when you actually start your initial teacher training after your SKE course is finished. So everyone starts off with the reflective practice unit. Okay, so as I mentioned, the course is technically self-assessed. There is a QA process, obviously, just to ensure that you are engaging with the course and completing the required work. These come in the form of assignments, which I've talked about, usually 2 per unit, usually found in the study section. The journal entries, so remember each unit of study comes with usually 2 assignments and then a journal entry at the end. And also you'll be allocated some online lessons with your subject tutor, which will usually be the same person as your course tutor. Not necessarily, but very often that will be the case. So for most of you, subject tutor and course tutor are actually going to be the same person. But they are different roles technically, and so they may possibly be different people. And your online lessons will be conducted with your subject tutor, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But basically, with regards to pass marks, there is no requirement to achieve above a certain score or a certain percentage on a particular assignment. So say you complete some maths questions on the Maths SKE, there is no requirement to get above, say, 65% or 70%. You won't be asked to redo the assignment if you get below a certain score. All that we ask is that you reflect on the areas that you went wrong in the self-assessment audit and the journal entry, and think about the areas that you need to improve. And so as long as you reflect on that, the actual score that you get, obviously you want to do as well as possible, but there's no score that you have to get. As long as you reflect on where you need to improve, then that's all we ask for. When you upload the self-assessment audit, very often there will be an option to set yourself a couple of targets moving forward. So as I say, the self-assessment audit is a little bit like a mini subject knowledge audit, except that it only contains topics from within that unit. And as well as assessing how confident you are in each of the areas in that unit, having completed the unit, there's an option to leave yourself a couple of targets moving forward, and you can then use those targets to reflect on, possibly, say, a few weeks down the line when you complete your final assignment. Okay, so how do you finish the course? So you'll notice that at the end of your timeline, there are 3 weeks labelled Consolidation Week, Assessment Week, and Feedback to the ITT provider. Basically, the Consolidation Week is there to give you a bit of breathing space. If you've got any journals outstanding or any assignments that you still need to submit, then that is the time to get everything wrapped up. Before you start your final assignment, you must have completed all the assignments and all the journal entries for your assigned units of study. The assessment week is less daunting than it appears, and basically all that you need to do in the assessment week is log into the VLE. On the menu down the left hand side you can see essay assignment, end of course assessment. You can see that I've boxed it here. And basically what we're asking for here is a reflective essay about the course as a whole. So 1500 word limit, so if you aim for about 2 pages of type, if you go a little bit over or a little bit under, it's not gonna make too much of a difference. But basically, you can think of it sort of like as a big learning journal, except that it's going to have a little bit more structure. There are many prompts to guide you as to what to write, and you can look back over previous journal entries, especially on some of the longer courses. You might need to look back and see what you've done a few months ago. But basically, it's all the things that you would expect to write on a reflective essay. What did you expect coming into the course? How did you manage the workload? What was your background in the subject? Then in the main body, you can talk about areas that you particularly enjoyed, any areas that you feel you've made good progress, any areas that you feel you still would like to work on moving forward. Again, all things that you would expect to write in a reflective essay. Once that's done, you submit it in exactly the same way that you've submitted all of the assignments previously. Your course tutor will get a notification saying that you've submitted the end of course assessment. They will log in. They will read your end of course essay. They will then write you a final report. The final report will say that you've completed however long a course with us. You worked well, you were engaged throughout, you were punctual to your online lessons, so on and so forth. They will send that on to the office, and the office will then forward that report onto your ITT provider, and that is our way of letting your ITT provider know that you've completed the course. And you will also get a copy of that final report. So you will get a copy of your final report, which is also our way of letting you know that you've finished the course successfully. Okay, so study time. You'll get a similar response from all SKE providers that a student who's enrolled on the course full-time is expected to spend around 25 hours a week studying for the course. Now, this includes everything that you would do that's associated to your subject knowledge enhancement. So it includes all the online content, the work you do on the assignments, the journal entries, any exercises that you do, any online lessons that you have that week, and any personal study or research that you conduct yourself. So it's not uncommon for students to, especially if they're less confident with a particular topic, actually seek external resources. YouTube can be a great resource, but there's many others, and go away and have a look at some topics yourself. That all is contained within those 25 hours a week. Obviously, the exact time that you spend per week will vary from student to student and from unit to unit. So the idea is that they're about the same length, but obviously some units are naturally a little longer or shorter than others, and depending on your background in the subject already, different students are going to find different units, varying levels of demand, basically. So let's talk about the online lessons. So you'll be allocated a number of fortnightly online lessons with your subject tutor, and the number of these that you get allocated will depend on the length of your course. So for shorter courses you will get less, for longer courses you will get more. You'll arrange the dates and times of these lessons with your subject tutor directly, usually via email. So the tutors work different hours, different times of days, different days of the week, and you will find a common time with which to have these lessons. Could be during the day, if both of you are available, could be during the evening, could be of a weekend, but that's something that you would arrange with your subject tutor. We use online meeting software, usually something like Cisco WebEx, but not necessarily. But you'll be provided with all the details about how to log into the meeting by your subject tutor. So they will, once you've arranged a date and a time, they will schedule the meeting, and you will usually get an email inviting you to the meeting, and contained in that email is a link, and usually you can just click on the link and it will take you to the online meeting. It may prompt you to download some software if it's the first time that you've done one of these online lessons. So Zoom or Cisco WebEx will ask you to download the client for that particular meeting software, but that usually only takes a couple of minutes. Obviously, Your subject tutor is a person who has their own demands on their time. So it helps if you are punctual and well prepared. So it may be that your tutor has asked you to prepare some questions or do some work in advance of the meeting, or they may use your timeline to create a lesson based on what you've been doing over the past couple of weeks. If for whatever reason you're not able to make a scheduled lesson, then please let your subject tutor know as soon as possible. So very often the subject tutors are practicing teachers themselves, and if they have left work early, maybe they've left at 4:30 to get home for an online lesson that's starting at 5:15, only to discover that you're not there, then this can be frustrating. So just as a courtesy more than anything else, if you know that you're not able to make a meeting, or it's looking like you're not going to be able to make a meeting, if you could try to let your subject tutor know as soon as possible, they will greatly appreciate that. So the forum, occasionally you'll be required to use the forum as part of a unit assignment. It may include sharing an opinion that you've got about something. Might ask you to read a certain document and give your thoughts, share your thoughts with people, or it could ask you to research a resource, or maybe create a resource and then share it with other students. You're encouraged to interact with other students on the forum because you can share ideas and share good practice. And some of the assignments will ask you to interact on the forum, but there's no requirement otherwise. But it's nice to talk to other students and share ideas, so we do encourage you to do that. Okay, so what about holidays and breaks from study? So, as I said before, real life has a habit of throwing things at us that we don't expect, and it might not always be possible to spend the required amount of time in a given week on the course. Additionally, holidays and other demands, for example, final university exams, things like that, they may also reduce the amount of time you're able to spend on the course. In that instance, when something is planned, what we recommend is that you try to get as far ahead beforehand as possible. So if you know that you've got a week's holiday coming up and you're not going to be able to spend time on the course, well, you're on holiday, so you might not want to, then rather than come back from holiday and be a week behind, then it's better to try and get a week ahead before you leave, so that when you do come back, you're back on track. In exceptional circumstances, we can work around you, but you must let us know so that we can make the appropriate adjustments to our records. So the best way to get in touch with us is through your course tutor. So if you're finding it really tough, if whatever is going on that week is really stopping you from engaging with the course, please let us know as soon as possible. If you fall more than 2 weeks behind without getting in touch, then we'll try and contact you directly, usually try and give you a call just to make sure that you're okay. And if we're not able to reach you, then we'll pass this on to your ITT provider, just to make sure that you're still engaging with the course and everything's okay. But if you do foresee a week, 2 weeks coming up where you know that you're not going to be able to engage with the course as much, then our advice is to try to get as far ahead as possible beforehand, so that when you come back, you're actually still on track, rather than being a week or two behind and then having to catch up. Good luck, all the best, and I hope that you enjoy your SKE course with Eureka Online College.